I will be talking about the Japanese Empire in this presentation. Here's a quick overview of this presentation. I will be talking about the Tokugawa period, the Meiji Restoration, industrialization, and then colonies and war. This is a brief map of the important places in Japan. First is Tokyo, the capital city since the Tokugawas. The next is Kyoto, where the coup in 1868 started. And finally, Osaka is the main foreign trading hub of Japan. Stage 1, the Tokugawa, the Age of Samurai. Before the Tokugawa period, Japan was in a period known as the Warring States. Japan was divided into different states ruled separately by feudal lords known as daimyo. This all ended after the emergence of the Tokugawa. Ultimately, Tokugawa emerged as the next shogun and ushered in a new era of peace, the Tokugawa period 1603 to 1868. It was also known as the Edo period after the region that later became known as Tokyo. The Tokugawas ensured to maintain the caste system which prioritized the nobles/samurai. The Tokugawas ensured the social order was officially frozen and mobility between the four classes, warriors, farmers, artisans, and merchants, was prohibited. And the change was that they closed off the nation. The Tokugawas kept peace in Japan by closing the nation of the rest of the world. Before the Tokugawas, the Japanese were engaged in trade regularly with Western countries like the Portuguese, Spanish, and Dutch. The Meiji Restoration. This is when things started to change. The American Commodore Matthew C. Perry entered Japanese ports in 1852. He demanded that Japan open itself up for foreign trade. Its effect: the contact induced internal conflict. The imperialists embraced these modern ideas and technologies, while the shogunate faction rejected them in favor of preserving Japan's unique political and cultural identity. Effect of effect. The Boshin War was the ultimate expression of these conflicting ideals. This was the coup that happened in 1868, which started in Kyoto. Industrialization. The main cause of industrialization was the fear of being colonized. For example, this map is of the British Empire. It was vast and powerful, because their deepest concern was that Japan might become a colony under the control of one of the great powers. This had been the fate of much of India and Southeast Asia. While China had been forced to yield Hong Kong to Britain in 1842 after losing the First Opium Wars, consequently, they believed that the country needed to modernize as rapidly as possible, building up its economic strength to reinforce its military and protect itself from invasion. The effects are that the industrialization in 1869, the first telegraph line between Tokyo and Yokohama was formed. Effect 2, in 1872, the rail service started. And by 1876, the international expertise population was at its peak. As government officials' jobs lost their value, technology became more important. This is a map of the Japanese Empire by the end of their conquest in 1945. They have colonized the majority of East Asia. The countries that were colonized by Japan were the following: China, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and so much more. In 1875, Japan began its colonization of Korea and succeeded. But in 1904, Russia moved their forces into Japanese territory. Due to the Japanese imperialist mindset, they were not happy. Yet Japan was profoundly unhappy with moves by the Russian Empire to control both northeast China, Manchuria, and Korea, and joined with Britain in an alliance to force Russia to retreat. And so, from 1904 to 1905 began the Russo-Japanese War, where the Japanese came out on top, and by 1910, Japan had full control over Korea. Their drive to conquer China was from the threat of overpopulation due to rapid modernization and their newfound greed for raw materials such as nickel and natural gases. And the effect is that Japan conquered Manchuria in 1931. Japan used an underhanded tactic. The right wing achieved its first big success in September 1931, when Japanese army officers stationed along the railway in northeast China faked a terrorist attack and quickly seized control of northeast China. Thank you for watching. These were the sources used. Thank you.